All right, I'm doing more YouTubes. Get out of here. We're YouTubing here. I've been making TikToks for a while.
Wife said don't make TikToks after you take Tylenol PM.
But TikToks might be going away, which means I gotta go look around and find new places to make the content. Making the content, right, Luigi? Come on, you know what I mean. But I'm out here today because I'm gonna start making more YouTubes, which means I gotta start looking around. What's the competition? Who are the chief yappers out here? And let's go ahead and start. Which yappers are transcendent right now? Who's got a big head? Who's gonna be invited to the White House more, huh? I used to get invited to the White House. I'd yap on the tiki-talkies, and then they invited me to the White House, and I said, hey, we should maybe do more tiki-talkies. They said, why don't we just ban TikTok instead? And I said, that's why you're fired, Joe Biden, you old But I can't say things like old at the beginning of a YouTube video. They'll demonetize me because YouTube is for the children. It's mostly for the advertisers. But today, we're going to do a tier list. The kids love the tier list. We're going to look at 12 conservative commentators, content creators, conservative influencers, or as I like to call them, 12 conservative
Pearlmania, 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 Pearlmania 500.
Before I move on, before I get into the tier list, I'm going to put it up here on it's going to be actually this side. It's going to be on this side. Before I put the tier list up, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to hit the subscribe button. I want to hit the like. I want you to write a comment. And this is the comment I want you to write. I want you to write in the comments, I have information that will lead directly to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Write that in the comments. We're trying to boost ourselves in the algorithm, okay? We're all doing it together. Let's take a look here at this tier list, huh? Watch this. Magical. I use science. Right here, I got 12 conservative commentators, content creators, influencers. A lot of them are on the YouTubes. A lot of them got their start on the YouTubes and then got banned. Some of them got their start on the Facebooks. Some of them got their start on the radio. Some of them got their starts everywhere. But where are we all now? We're all equals, except they get invited to places now. And they get millions of dollars from billionaires and millionaires to distract us. What are they distracting us from? Oh, lots of stuff. But we got to keep the culture war going, right, everybody? Let's go ahead and just start picking them, and let's go ahead and start ranking them. If you've never seen one of these tiers before, because you're old, don't ever admit that you don't know what a tier is. Obviously, we have A, B, C, and D. Just like in school, right? A is a good grade. D means you can still go to college, just not a good one. S, though, that's from the anime. S means you're above, you're beyond, you're a whole other tier. You actually are unrankable. You're like a god, right? You're like a Marvel superhero that hasn't been made woke. They make all the superheroes woke these days, don't they? Which is why I'm going to start off here with the man who thinks everything's woke, Matt Walsh. Oh, what a scumbag this guy is. Matt Walsh works for the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. He's made such things as a documentary called What is a Woman? And you know what the answer to that is, Matt? If you want to know what a woman is, featherless biped. Matt Walsh likes to pretend he's a liberal sometimes by putting on a wig. By the way, that's his big liberal disguise. He puts on his beard, his same face and glasses, and a bad wig with a ponytail. He's like, look, this is what liberals look like. And I'm like, you think a liberal is a guy with a beard, glasses, and a ponytail? Oh, shit, no, he's right. Anyway, Matt Walsh is a C tier. Almost D tier. Matt Walsh exists solely to be dunked on Twitter. Nobody actually likes Matt Walsh. He's just a dick to people that conservatives want him to be a dick to, right? Trans people, women, anybody else. All right, that's one down. Ben Shapiro runs the Daily Wire, which is a big, massive company that is all these different conservative content creators. They put them all together. They mix them into a big pot. Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire at this point is basically just a reaction channel.
Certified freak 7 days a week.
Famously, failed Hollywood screenwriter. He's written scripts, he's written books, they're all garbage. Before Ben Shapiro built his empire with the Daily Wire, you know what he did? His job used to be guy who graduated college real young and hates rap music so old people like him. You know, rap these days is terrible and I hate it. Kids these days should listen to classical music. Being an appealing young person to old people has a shelf life. They've been dying. And so Ben probably at one point would have been A tier. I'm going to put him at about a B tier. Ben Shapiro's numbers are completely being propped up by old people who have died, whose credit cards haven't been cut off, and a bunch of fossil fuel billionaires who want to make sure that he still keeps talking shit on climate change. But those billionaires also probably going to die soon. And they're also looking around at younger, hungrier people who don't have the problems Ben Shapiro has retaining talent, right? Which brings me to Candace Owens, who used to work with these two guys. You guys might know her from hanging out with Kanye West. You might know Candace Owens from praising Adolf Hitler. Do you guys know what a pick-me is? A pick-me girl is a woman who obsessively desires male approval and validation, often at the expense of other women. But also in her case, Candace Owens is typically also kind of, like one of the good ones. So conservatives can point to her and say, hey, we're not racist. Candace Owens likes us, and she's a black woman. So we can say whatever the fuck we want. That's what Candace Owens gets paid for, but everybody sees right through it these days, so she falls in the D tier. After that, we have Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk runs Turning Point USA. If you don't know what Turning Point USA is, congratulations. You are not a male between the ages of 18 to 35 who has been hyper-targeted at a rate that we could not even imagine back in the 1930s. Charlie Kirk runs this organization. What they do is they are trying to make conservatism cool on college campuses. Not only does Charlie Kirk pump out a shit ton of content, surprisingly big on TikTok. We had no idea how big it was on TikTok. He cut a deal with TikTok to make sure it was big on TikTok. He actually stole part of the Ben Shapiro model. The Ben Shapiro model, which was to argue with college kids who are 18, 19 years old and make them look like ass because they don't have enough life experience. Charlie Kirk is a 30-year-old man who still hangs around college campuses, right? Because he keeps getting older and they keep staying the same age. All right. Charlie Kirk leaves his $30 million mansion in Arizona. He's flying from college university to college university. And what is he doing? Picking fights with people. He's tossing MAGA hats out into the crowd, getting people to sign up to register to vote in specifically swing states and others. And he's holding big conferences to make people think that there are more conservatives than there really are. And he has a big money backing. Because of that, Charlie Kirk is going to be our first A tier. Right here, Charlie Kirk. Up next, we have J.K. Rowling. I know, you're like, wait, whoa. Thought you said conservative content creator. I thought you said conservative influencers. Harry Potter is a typical conservative story. The story of Harry Potter is the story of a kid who is genetically predisposed to being the chosen one. What does our chosen one do by the end of the story? He becomes a cop. Then you add in the fact that she is a major TERF. She hates trans people. She's constantly going at them to the point where J.K. Rowling ends up supporting anti-feminist candidates just because they're actually anti-trans. J.K. Rowling is willing to hurt women across the board if there is any chance that blast will also hurt a couple trans people. So with that, J.K. Rowling in general, I'm actually going to put her at a B tier. Up next, I have, this guy, Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager is a little bit different because Dennis's face isn't what's important about his content. No. Dennis is truly an influencer. He influences children across the nation. How does he do it? Through his organization, PragerU. It's completely an online web classes. It's videos. It's pocket stuff designed primarily for parents who homeschool their kids. But with a lot of work, it's starting to end up in actual schools. PragerU and Dennis Prager famously defended Christopher Columbus to an extent that is so disgusting, it actually made Italians and I would be like, yo, maybe we get rid of that statue. They have these time-traveling kids in a PragerU video where they go back in time and end up on one of Columbus's ships. And they have Christopher Columbus in the most Italian Luigi-pilled accent you've ever heard. He's like, hey, look at me. I'm a Christopher Columbus. Hey, slavery's not so bad. What's worse? I could have just killed him. Like, that's like legit. Editor, roll the clip.
Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
This man is basically reprinting 1950s racist textbooks and now dropping them into the digital age. Dennis Prager, A tier. He might be dead soon, though. He recently had pneumonia and he's old. So he could go to H tier. Up next, let's go with this guy, RFK Jr. I know you're thinking, oh, RFK Jr., he was a Democrat. RFK Jr. is how so many of the podcast bros ended up going to Donald Trump by the end. He was their poison pill to trick those guys into having to endorse Donald Trump. Let me explain. So you go look at a lot of these podcasters, right? These comedy podcasters who were pushing for RFK Jr. on their shows. They had him on regularly as a guest. He would talk about crazy health stuff. He would talk about these different things, his weird voice, because God's trying to silence him. God and the CIA are trying to silence a Kennedy. Oh my God, what a shock. But he would go on these shows, and then he was like, I'm going to run for president. And so these guys thought it was great because there was no way that RFK Jr. was going to become president. He ran as a Democrat at first. Everyone knew from the get-go he wasn't going to beat Joe Biden. It just wasn't in the cards for him. So when he dropped out of the Democratic primary and became an independent candidate, it was perfect. This was their political thing so they could discuss politics while not being partisan, right? Look at me, I'm talking to a presidential candidate. It's RFK Jr. And RFK's, I'm a presidential candidate. Look at me. I killed 83 people in Samoa because I told people not to take a measles vax. Real shit, right? But when he dropped out as an independent presidential candidate and endorsed Donald Trump, that was a huge moment. And that, after these guys talked so much about how much they loved RFK Jr., they had to follow his endorsement to the end. And so a lot of them ended up getting swept up. And also, he'd already built a relationship with all these podcast bros because he wasn't really spending money on his campaign. He just kept going on fucking podcasts because he is a content creator. The Kennedys are content creators. So anyway, I'm going to put RFK Jr. A tier. Up next, we'll go with Joe Rogan. Right now, after the election, a lot of people have been talking. They're saying, hey, where's our liberal Joe Rogan? No, we need a liberal Joe Rogan. And a lot of people point out, hey, Joe Rogan used to be more left. He endorsed Bernie. He likes to smoke pot. He's pro-abortion. All these different things. He's a classic California Democrat, right? He is an actor, a union member. Joe Rogan received $100 million from Spotify. And then Joe Rogan was never going to be a Democrat again. Once you get that amount of money, all you want to do is start protecting it like a dragon. And then COVID hit, right? Before you knew it, Joe Rogan had built Austin, Texas up on his podcast and in general by opening comedy clubs and others down there, that there's now a whole Austin comedy scene. All these stand-up comics down there, they're conservative. If you had told me back in 2002 that stand-up comedy would be a conservative playground, I would have called you an asshole, okay? I've been doing stand-up comedy for over 20 years. Seeing it move to being more conservative because of the moneyed interest to control how we actually perceive the world and how we interpret the information. So Joe Rogan, I'm actually going to put now in B tier. I think from here on out, Joe Rogan's going to start to come down because Joe Rogan did the one thing he shouldn't have done. He fully endorsed Donald Trump at the end, and then Donald Trump won. That's not good for you, Joe. That's not going to be good for your numbers in the long run. But who knows? Up next, Tucker Carlson in pre-2020, 21, before he got fired from Fox News. I would have put him up at the A tier. But I had to put Tucker at the B tier now, mainly because Tucker only exists on Twitter. He is getting posted regularly and having his numbers juiced by Elon Musk over on X, on Twitter. And what's Tucker doing? He's traveling around the world. He's going to Russia regularly to be like, look at this. Welcome to Russia. So anyway, Tucker Carlson is B tier, actually probably falling to C tier over time, because that's the other thing too, is Tucker really only works as a reactionary. You're a big C, Tucker. Speaking of big C's, Steven Crowder. What a guy. Most people know him as a meme of a guy holding a mug of coffee, right? And he's sitting behind a table and it says something, change my mind. That is a Steven Crowder picture from his show, Louder with Crowder. What a name. Louder with Crowder. But Steven's been kind of quiet the last couple of years. Crowder kept having problems on YouTube. He kept getting demonetized. He ended up figuring out kind of a Patreon or a Substack style subscription called Mug Club. But Steven Crowder got offered a $50 million contract. 50, comma, 000, comma, 000.00. They offered this man right here who only truly smiles when he's wearing a dress. Something you want to tell us, Steven? And the thing is, what came out is Steven Crowder turned it down. He said that he was worth more money. And it started a public feud between him, Jeremy Boring, and Ben Shapiro. Candace Owens ended up getting involved. It was a whole thing. He's going in the D tier. Up next, Nick Fuentes. Now, Nick Fuentes is a character that most people don't know unless you're terminally online or you're a woman post this most recent election, because this is the guy who famously made the phrase "your body, my choice" popular on the internet after Trump won his most recent re-election. Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. He has a passionate, tiny following of a small group of guys called Groypers. They're all losers. And Nick Fuentes famously really likes cat boys. Don't Google it. Just go with me on this one. I'm putting Nick Fuentes in the D tier, which leaves us with our last. We've gone through 11. It's our final one. Who is this man here? Why is this man with his belly out? He looks so happy. He looks so gleeful. Who could this man be? It's Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a conservative content creator. He's a conservative influencer. For his purchase of Twitter alone, that puts him in charge of everyone else here you see. You see, because before his purchase of Twitter, there was a chance that any of these people could be kicked off of their platforms and demonetized. But Elon Musk created a last refuge, a Helm's Deep in the storm. Elon Musk has personally rehabilitated the online presence of the entire conservative movement, openly changing algorithms. And by doing that, by changing these algorithms and by working them openly and not being stopped, he showed the other conservatives, and more importantly, other tech CEOs and companies, we can put our thumb on the scale and we can run out the clock. And by doing that, we don't have to worry about stuff like the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. By doing that, we won't have to worry about the Securities and Exchange Commission. By doing that, we don't have to worry about the federal election laws. We don't have to worry about any of this shit. We can win the presidency by tweaking everything and doing Cambridge Analytica, which was a massive scandal. He spent $250 million to buy the presidency. This is after secretly spending $50 million over 2 years to build the case against trans rights across America, to make it into an issue that it wasn't even a fucking issue before, through personal targeting. And so because of that, because of his billions of dollars in outside influence, and because of everything else that he's been able to do recently and how he's been building towards this, that $44 billion investment into Twitter, people are like, oh, Twitter's worth less now. It was all purchased to win the election in 2024, which is why Elon Musk is our only S tier on this list of 12 conservative commentators, content creators, influencers, and more.
If we lose some,
It does seem that way. You can't just be like,
yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think, will I see my children? I don't know.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I had a great time making this, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I know my editor enjoyed listening to me scream until his ears bled. Yeah, that's right, buddy. But I want to know if there's other content creators, influencers, other politicians, other things you want me to talk about in a tier list like this. Do you like this format? Do you want to see me do something different? Do you want me to talk about maybe political streamers? Maybe you want me to yell about some libs, yell about some leftists. Maybe we should yell about something that isn't even political at all. Get down in the comments and let me know. I love to hear from you. I definitely listen to all of your suggestions. That is 100% things I do. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Trying to post a video every Friday.